Hey everybody, Ray here. I had some 3/4 inch finished birch plywood laying around, and so I decided that I would make a cajon drum. I'm going to show you a little bit about this cajon drum and tell you a little bit of its history. If that's of interest to you, stick around. And don't forget, like and subscribe. The word cajon is Spanish. It means box, crate, drawer. It could even mean coffin. But essentially it means box. A cajon drum is a 6-sided box. 4 sides around the outside, the back of the box, and then the thinner skin that makes up the front and gives you the drum sound. Though there may have been drums or instruments like this prior to when I'm speaking about, these drums are generally associated with Spanish colonies in Cuba, Brazil, Argentina, general Caribbean type areas that the Spanish inhabited. And a lot of those folks were poor and they were workers on the farms and so forth, or even slaves, and they would find old boxes and crates and they could use them to make a drum sound. So they'd take these home and they'd play drums back in their villages while they danced or sang, or if they were lucky and had enough money to buy an instrument, this would accompany that instrument. One of the earliest pieces of at least visual history that we're aware of is a drawing by a man named Ignacio Moreno. And he made this drawing in Peru in 1841. It depicts a man playing a guitar and a man sitting on a cajon playing that next to him. Because of the need for labor to man these sugar plantations, many slaves were imported into Cuba. And the Cuban slaves did the same thing. They developed their own version of a cajon drum, and they would pick up, again, crates by the docks and so forth, and they would take them back to their villages, and they would have a get-together, and they would play the cajons, and they would dance. And in 1925, the president of Cuba outlawed contortionistic dance and drums played to incite that dance because he feared that it could develop into a riot of some kind. As a result of that law, what people started to do was to develop cajon drum instruments that actually could look like furniture, and they could sort of keep them hidden in their home and break them out and play them, at least in the confines of their home, so they wouldn't get caught with their hidden instruments. Pretty inventive. The cajon I made is 12 inches wide, it is 15 inches deep, and it is 18 inches high. The 18 inches and the 12 inches is pretty standard. Typically, they're going to be about 12 to 13 inches deep. I wanted a more bass sound, so I made my cajon a little bit deeper. And that raises a good point. A cajon drum does not have to be a standard size. It could be bigger than this. It could be smaller than this. It doesn't have to be this tall. It doesn't have to be this wide. It all depends on the kind of sound that you want to get out of the drum. As I said, I wanted a bit more of a bass tone, so I made mine a little bit deeper. This particular cajon is made out of 3/4 inch finished or sanded birch plywood. And it has got a reddish color. I think they call it Sedona red stain on it, which I thought came out really pretty. You don't have to use 3/4 inch. You could use 1/2 inch if you want. But this gives it a little bit deeper tone when you use 3/4 inch, and structurally it's just a little stronger. The top and bottom and the sides are cut at a 45-degree angle, so they'll fit together with very minimal edge showing. You don't have to do that. You could literally just butt one board on top of another if you wanted to make it even more simple than this. But I like the way this looks. It gives it a nice finished edge. The back panel, again, you could just put this on there flat. I beveled this piece here and these pieces at a 45, so it would fit in there very nicely and give it a nice smooth edge. Also on the back, you'll notice this hole. This is the hole that the sound comes out of. And if you hit the front of the drum, you'll actually feel the air coming out of there from the concussion. The back is held on by 1 1/4 inch screws. The rest of the structure is actually glued together. It's not screwed or nailed at all. It is glued together in those joints. And then inside is just a little block that runs the length of this and gets glued into the corner just to give it extra structural support. As you can imagine, with the back being screwed in there and those bevels, it's not going to move very much, so you don't have to worry too much about the structure in front. The front of the cajon is what I refer to as door skin or cabinet siding. You can find this at Home Depot or Lowe's in the cabinet section. Just ask for a door skin. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, and it's used just to finish off the sides of cabinets if they're exposed. And it's held by a number of screws all around the side. These are about 2.5 inches apart, with 2 1 inch apart in the corners. And at the top, it's held by 4 screws. And you'll notice in the corner here, you leave some gap, and it's hard to tell, but right here, I sanded that down just a little bit on the box to leave a little bit of a gap. The reason for that is you get different drum tones wherever you play the cajon. So it's different there than it is there, or different there, or how you play it. Up here, this is just for a tap sound. So it's a really sharp sound versus the bass sound down here. Generally, a larger cajon such as this, you play it by sitting on it. In some cases, there's a Cuban version of a cajon that is actually sort of pyramid shaped and it fits between your legs. There are also wider, shorter cajons that will sit on your lap, but typically the larger cajons like this, you would play by sitting on them. Well, that's my cajon drum. Try to make one. You don't have to make it as fancy as this one. They're not hard to make, and it's kind of fun, and you wind up with a little instrument at the end. Hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.